There's something strange about Genesis 17. And it's easy to miss. The chapter begins in verse 1 with a simple detail. Abraham is 99 years old. At first, that doesn't seem important. Until you remember something. The last recorded event happened when Ishmael was born in Genesis 16 verse 16. Abraham was 86. That means 13 years have passed. 13 years. And the Bible tells us almost nothing about them. Think about that. The man who received incredible promises. The man who spoke with God. The man whose story fills chapters. Suddenly disappears into silence. Why? What happened during those years? Was Abraham waiting? Wondering? Assuming Ishmael was the promised son? The chapter never says. And then God appears. Not with a brand new promise. With a repeated one. Which raises another question. Why repeat promises? If Abraham already heard them in Genesis 12 and Genesis 15, why say them again? Unless something important is changing. And it is. For the first time, God changes Abraham's name. Abram becomes Abraham. But here's what's interesting. The promise still hasn't happened. Isaac hasn't been born. Nothing has changed externally. Yet the name changes now. Why? Could it be that the identity changes before the reality does? Then Sarah's name changes too. And suddenly the promise becomes incredibly specific. Not descendants someday. Not a nation eventually. A son. Through Sarah. And Abraham's reaction is fascinating. Verse 17 says he laughs. Wait. Abraham laughs? Most people remember Sarah's laughter. But Abraham laughed first. Why don't we talk about that more? And then he immediately says something unexpected. In verse 18. What about Ishmael? Think about that. God is revealing the future. And Abraham brings up the past. Or maybe what he thought was the future. Could it be that Abraham had already built an entire understanding around Ishmael? And now God is challenging it? Then comes one of the strangest parts of the chapter. Circumcision. Why this sign? Why not a monument? Why not a mountain? Why not a special day? Why choose something private? Something future generations would carry without anyone else necessarily seeing? It's almost as if the covenant isn't meant to be displayed first. It's meant to be carried. And by the end of the chapter, something remarkable has happened. The promise still isn't fulfilled. Isaac still isn't born. Nothing visible has changed. Yet Abraham has a new name. Sarah has a new name. A covenant has been established. And a future has been described. It's as if Genesis 17 is asking a strange question. What if transformation begins before evidence appears? What if the biggest change in the chapter isn't what happened, but who they are becoming? What do you think?